selling point for AEM is personalization. It's really kind of changing the marketing message from one to many to more like one-on-one, so that every individual gets a message catered toward their specific profile. But in my experience and what I've seen in many implementations is that even though that's the goal, it just remains a goal, and people are too busy just getting their website up and running and not actually going to the next step. So I think we want to talk about doing that. We're going to talk a little bit about AEM personalization and how we're introducing a slightly different paradigm for how the personalization is done. Right?
Hi, my name is Mike Zhou. So I'm a AEM developer for roughly 5 years. I'm both a certified AEM architect and I'm a certified developer as well. So I do some architects and I do day-to-day coding. So today I'm going to demo the glittery code. Well, basically, I would do that after Inku introduce something. I would do the demo. I wrote the code, so let's see. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think that at least in part, one of the reasons why personalization is difficult in AEM is that the semantics are confusing. I mean, if you read the documentation, if you follow the changing names of various things in personalization across the years, if you look at different areas of the Adobe web pages, or if you look at the AEM application itself and go to different parts of the application, you'll see that things are referred in a non-consistent manner. So it's kind of natural that people start wondering, well, what's the difference between audience and experience? What's the difference between segments and traits, offers and teasers, activities and campaigns? So the lines are kind of blurry, and there's usually an underlying technical truth, and that's what we really want to expose, because there's a marketing side, and then there's really on the technical side, what does really an offer mean? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. There's also, the problem itself is hard, because we're addressing people who are in different areas. So we might be talking about personalization for users from the user's perspective, but also personalization from the marketer's perspective, or from the developer's perspective. There's also the fact that Adobe has made a lot of product acquisitions. So when they acquired Campaign, and that became part of the Marketing Cloud, then all the terminology and branding came with it, and so you have to somehow reconcile these different branding terms. Same thing with Omniture and analytics, and so you have overlapping branding. And finally, there's the brand itself has been evolving, from going from CQ to AEM, also going to Marketing Cloud and Experience Cloud, and the documentation itself hasn't been all too consistent as well. So there's a number of reasons why people have been kind of confused about the semantics. So this is our list of what really personalization means in the world of AEM. So we have, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I do want to highlight a few things. That Campaign is a set of default personalization for a company. So it's sort of a top-level personalization, personalization, but it doesn't really mean campaign in the marketing sense. If you're thinking about campaign in the marketing sense, that's really an activity. So if you just kind of go down this list, we really list out the difference between the different terms. There's also, I also list, like in italics, campaign manager there. That has nothing to do with campaign in personalization in AEM, because it's a different product. Audience manager as well, and as opposed to audience. So audience in AEM is simply a listing of segments. It's not the list of segments that might apply toward a particular campaign, as you might think from a marketing perspective, but it's just a listing of segments. Another thing that's confused me over time is the teaser and teaser component. Teaser component's been deprecated, but a teaser is actually it's the old it's the deprecated what's now called the context hub.
Before that, it's client context.
Yeah, it's client context. It's what it used to be called, and that component has been deprecated along with the client context, and the teaser, what is it? And also, right.
Teaser is like a marketing term.
Yeah, and teaser is also a promotion or a personalized content for an experience. So the words here, maybe if if you just think back on any of the confusions you might have, hopefully this list will clarify some of the different terminologies. But I think more useful would be this page, because it's one thing to talk about campaign and try to verbally describe what that means, but really underneath the hood of AEM, this is what these terms actually mean. So campaign, so if you look at the JCR path, content, campaign, we retail, that's corresponding to like content, we retail. So it's really a top level personalization. It's really the brand page. If you look at the AEM resource type, it's actually something called the brand page. So the campaign in AEM is what is really the brand, and in marketing they'll call it a company. Example is we.retail. For AEM also has something called an area. An area is underneath in the code. They call it an ambit page, but it's really a channel in the marketing. So inside the JCR path, under we retail, there's a default channel called master, and that's what applies to any kind of personalization for that company. But you can create additional channels as well, additional areas. And next is the activity. So activity is really what, as I mentioned earlier, activity is what marketers typically think of as a campaign. It's AEM Resource has it as a campaign page. And in the JCR path, it goes below master, the we retail, the big spender campaign. And below that is a very common term that we hear in more recent Adobe marketing talks, and that's experience, the experience manager, the user experience. So user experience is what a marketer might term as a target. This is one point of consistency in AEM. Underneath the super type is experience page, and this is the JCR path. Below that is the teaser. So teaser is sort of like is like a promotion, and it's actually the content type is the AEM resource type is a promotion, and marketers also call it a promotion. So and then they have another thing called a folder, and so it's odd because everywhere else there's all this AEM lingo, but here they just kept it as a folder, and it really it's like a touch point. So it's the hero banner, or the hero banner area. So that's really what they mean when they say folder, and it resides within the offer library, and they have something called the homepage hero there, and below there is offer, and offer is its resource type is called the teaser page, and that's an instance of an element within the folder. And in this case, a marketer might call this a promotion as well, but they probably would also call it a position. So they might have a position called a winter female or winter male. These are things, different variations they might show within this touch point. So winter female, not that it specifies any particular trait, but it's actually just sort of a type of imagery that they might associate with this variation of this touch point. And finally, we're going down with the audience. I said that's just on the audience. That's the listing of segments, and there's something called a segment page as its resource type. In marketing, they call those segments as well, and like a soccer mom would be a type of segment. And then finally, you have the traits. So traits are, in AEM, they're the combination of logic and some comparison values. So in this case, you might have gender is equal to female. So that's a trait as defined by what's below here, a property and a value. So a demographic profile might have a gender as male or female, or it might have a geographic where the state would be New York or New Jersey or something like that. And so this list hopefully would, I think it's something that an author, AEM author or a developer might even kind of go back to if they're going through AEM and trying to sort of decrypt what the various sort of terminologies are for personalization.
I think this is the first takeaway of today.
Yeah.
We spent time on that to understand every term and do the mapping to the AEM terms. So it's pretty important.
Yeah, just to review, this is the personalization JCR path. If you look at the top, there's the campaign or company. So you start with /content, then campaigns, then campaign/company, because we were saying that within AEM they're synonymous. Campaign, company, brand, right? You get below there, you got area, channel, activity, campaign, experience, target, and teaser promotions. That's what it looks like within the JCR. Okay, any questions so far about AEM personalization? Are we kind of crystal clear now on that? But okay, now we want to get into glittery because this talk is really about AEM personalization combined with a new JavaScript library called glittery. And if you try to download it, it's not available quite yet. We're finishing up the touches on some of the documentation and trying to make it trying to make it usable. But we'll get that out there on GitHub and publish that. So
you guys are working actively on that internally?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's I'll talk about it a bit. It's an open source. It's with the MIT license, so it's freely usable. And great thing about JavaScript is you can just kind of look and you see what's happening. So it's pretty straightforward. So what is glittery? Well, glittery is a dynamic personalization and enablement capability for static web pages. So what that means is basically we allow you to personalize for static web pages. Why static and how is that relevant to AEM? It's relevant because AEM is primarily a static website delivery platform. Even though there's a lot of dynamic and personalized elements that the user might experience. If you think about from the architecture side, the web pages are basically created on the author, they're replicated to the publisher, and then they're cached on the dispatcher, and where they're just basically static HTML. And quite frequently there's a CDN that sits out in front of the dispatcher, and what the user is finally getting is a very static HTML page. So that's what makes glittery something that's very pertinent and relevant for AEM. There's some benefits for glittery. One is that it's compact, and that all the user data is stored within a single integer. We do this for a number of reasons, but that single integer is stored in the client browser, either as a lightweight cookie or a URL parameter. And the reason it's a single integer is that the binary bit representation allows a lot of flexibility, and you can do a lot of and/or operations. You can use matches using primitive bitwise operations. So if you're a programmer, you'll know that numbers are represented as in binary format ultimately, and as ones and zeros. And if you think about any number as an array of ones and zeros, and think of each one of those boxes as a user segment, you can sort of think about how you can combine that with the segment offerings on a web page and really apply very quick operations to figure out what that user should be seeing or not seeing. There's no additional JavaScript includes or AJAX calls that are required after after the original HTML is loaded, so it's going to be really fast. And it's immune to ad blockers. I think that is probably the biggest sell. Right now, personalization with something like Target is a big problem. It's going to be a continuing problem. Other companies use products like Monetate to, after loading the page, they might run a promotion and change the hero banner or change the video or anything like that. But it's a fine strategy, but it has a problem. And then with that problem is that as users are becoming more privacy oriented, they're starting to use ad blockers and it's really blocking that capability. So Glittery is immune. Glittery is also SEO friendly because the variations for web page are pre-compiled within the HTML. And finally, we've created a full AEM integration so that it should be easy from an AEM perspective. There are some limitations because it's sort of the opposite. We list some of them here. One is that you can have a maximum of 1 generic and 31 custom segments, because remember that box that I was talking about with the ones and zeros? That there's a limitation there. As we move forward, they're probably going to change JavaScript to support 64-bit numbers in a more natural way that allows bitwise operations, and so we can expand this probably to 64 bits in pretty soon, if not already. Or we can just sort of change the performance profile so it's a little bit slower so that you can have a lot more segments. But I don't know, how many segments do people really want to run? There's additional HTML payload that's hidden in the page. So there's a small increase in page size. That's nowhere near. We're talking about like 30 kilobytes or something on that order, not a megabyte, or not nowhere near the size of images. And that totally depends on how much customization and variations that you might actually want to support on that page. And finally, the embedded content is open to public view, so that it's a plus and minus. The minus is that you don't want to put anything secret there. If you don't want to actually share a promotion, then you don't want to put it on that page. It's more of Glittery is more of a way to show a optimized experience for an individual, not a way for disseminating sort of semi-secure content. So those are some of the pluses and minuses. Okay, so getting to the nitty-gritty. This is I just want to introduce a concept called a persona. In Glittery, there's a 32-bit byte that encapsulates a complete set of personalizations segments that constitute the user's profile. I only wrote 6 boxes here, but you could think of it as going on and on. So within this box, it represents the default segment and then basically everything else. So this segment, it represents the incomes over 100,000. This might be shopping cart items exceed 100. It could be a combination of things. It could be that plus they're female or they live in New York. Here you have an active male that's under 40. Those are two different traits. And that basically draws a page. So a page with Glittery basically has all the content that a typical site has, but it has additional potentially hidden variations of that HTML that are coded using CSS. And I'll go over what all this means, but basically, based on these CSS classes, it basically determines what divs or images or videos or any kind of digital assets on the page will actually be part of the rendering. It's this kind of responsive view, except it's a responsive personalized view, not a browser size view. Okay.
So you're loading all the divs associated to the combinations.
That's right.
The total number of combinations that you have.
Not the combinations. It's showing the variations, But because we have this bit representation of the user, the combinations are computed at runtime. So it's like just the parts, and all the combinations are computed when the page is rendered. So it's not like this and this and this, and then this and this and this and this. It's not that type of combination. It's really like if there's 5 different variations, those 5 variations are on the page, but depending on what you're allowed to see, you know, the different views will express themselves as.
But on the client side, you are loading all the markup
That's
for
right.
all the different variations.
Yes. And it turns out it's not that expensive because and it's not loaded at, it's hidden, and if for images the source is not actually there yet, so that it's put into the data attribute, so that it's not actually preloaded or anything like that. It's just sitting there waiting. So it's you think that it's a lot of HTML, but it's actually not that much. Okay. Great. So I just wanted to talk quickly about what the HTML looks like. We try to make it as easy and responsive like as possible. So if you know about if you know CSS, then I mean, this is basically, we try to make it as simple as possible. Anything that's glittery compatible on the page has to have this glittery GP class. That's all you have to do. Every set of targets has to have a campaign ID. So in this case, we have GPG fall promo, right? This is sort of a flag that just indicates that only show one that matches. Don't show multiple items. So that's either there or it's not there. And here's the actual data. So GP32 and GP10. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you think about what that 32 is, and reduce that into its binary representation, it's going to be 00005. I mean 00001, right? So that fifth segment is active. That means segment 5, show this element if the user is part of segment 5, or if the user is part of whatever segments this represents. In this case, represents segments 1 and 3 in that single digit. And GP0 indicates the element is to be displayed by default. So you can have any number of these ORs. You can, and within each section, if you have to have a combination of segments required to be able to view that, you can encapsulate that in that single class element. We noticed that some CSS people had a hard time with this. It's not completely natural for someone from a design background. So we created something slightly slower but more accessible format, so that it also supports this hyphen notation. So that if you actually just want to say segment 5, you can just say -5. If you want to say segment 1 and 3, you can say segment -1_3. So there's a small interpretation we do just for convenience, but this is the optimized preferred format to use. Okay. So I'm gonna do a quick glittery demo just to show you how those bits operate, and then we're gonna get into the AEM demo. Let me just show you this. So in this page, basically we just have a series of HTML tables, table rows and columns, and you know, in this element right here, there's actually a class that makes this color red, and what I'm showing you here is that right now I have this little helper that basically toggles the cookie value, my persona right here. It toggles the persona bits. So this is bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, and bit 3. And when I select it, you'll see that. And right now, what I'm loading is on localhost. I'm just loading a single page with a glittery JavaScript library. Okay. There's nothing going out to any server or any third party. And what we have right now is that since I selected red, it just automatically illuminated all parts in this column that are activated because of that one bit has been toggled. So in this case, the red bit has been toggled. That means this has GP1. In this case, you had GP1 because remember the space represents an OR operation. In this case, you have GP1, but you also have GPX, meaning that only show one, even though it may apply to multiple. If I select 2, 1 and 2, then you see the greens are also activated. Red and green is yellow, and so in this case you have 1_2. And again, I might select all 3 of them, and you'll see that more of the bits are toggled, and in this case more of the elements are showing. Still, in these last 2 aren't showing because of the GPX attribute. And that's about all. So this is very. I mean, if you think about it from this level, this is like very simple. You just have a couple of segments here. You're activating, deactivating, and it's the actual combination of variations you can have are really large. Okay, these 2 rows right here, I just listed just to show you that you have the 2 different notations side by side. You can't really tell a difference right here on performance. And you can actually look at the source here as well. This is going to be part of the library, so people can kind of play with it on their own. So that's that. Okay, like going back to here. Okay, so now we want to talk about AM and glittery. Okay, so the 2 parts. First, we talked about AM personalization. We have glittery library. Now let's merge the 2. What's necessary? We have the first thing that was necessary is to include glittery JS library in client libs. Easy, right? You just add that into the js.txt file and upload it. Secondly, we have to create glittery as a personalization engine, and that's part of the code that's being that we created that Mike wrote to integrate.
We extended the target component.
Yeah. Next, we had to inject the glittery CSS inside the target component wrappers. And finally, we had to create a glittery component. So that's it. Mike's going to go and I'm going to just sort of talk through a couple more aspects of our implementation, and then he's going to actually go through a live demo. It's going to be pretty exciting to see this all sort of come together.
Just talk about those 2 different integration points.
Which ones?
Then we have 2. One is integrate with
Yeah. I have just 4 more slides here.
Sure.
I just want to show. Okay, so the next 2 slides are going to be about AM personalization as you know it right now, which is there's only 2 ways that you can do personalization. One is through the context hub, using the context hub personalization engine. The other is through context hub using target, right? The target the product, not the target component.
Adobe target.
Yeah, Adobe target. So the AM personalization with the context hub, this is basically what happens. First of all, a page is loaded. Once the page is, the HTML is loaded, then the page through a script included, it calls the context hub.js. Great, that's called for requested from AM. Once that happens, within the response stream, all the segments are downloaded into memory. Then a second call, or third call, or fourth call may be made to grab additional data. This includes card information, user profile information. There might be integration with Audience, Adobe Audience, and you might have proxied persona information from third parties. And whatever that data is that's coming in, and that user info is being returned back to the browser. Within the browser, then finally there's a 5th step here where the segments are resolved using the user information, and that's submitted through a request to AM, and finally AM responds with instructions, JavaScript instructions to modify the DOM, and to actually affect a modification of behavior in the various aspects of the page. This is sort of default built-in AEM personalization. There's a lot, you notice in in red there, those are all HTTP calls, the request and response. And everyone, all the developers know that that can be slow. And so, and so this is, this has, it's out of the box, so that's great, but it's to use it can have some, and some impact on the actual user experience simply because of the latency. And if you go and you see people, company using this type of personalization, you'll see it. You'll see a slight, glitch when the page is rendering. There might be a banner and then it might switch to a different image. You didn't imagine that. That's actually happening. It's just that, depending on how fast your computer is, it's not painting the page and downloading all the content quite as fast as instantaneous. So that's Context Hub. Next, we have AEM personalization, Context Hub, and Target. And in this case, steps 1, 2, and 3 are the same. So is 4. So we have all that Context Hub and segment data being downloaded to the browser, and the user profile information being downloaded as well. And then we have the resolution of the segments and the submission and request sent now to a third party. In this case, Target. Target is a different domain. It can be omniture. It depends on your actual implementation, but it could be omniture. If you're using Adobe DTM, it could be Adobe DTM. But basically, that information is sent to Target, and Target then returns JavaScript instructions to modify the DOM. So it's very similar to the previous step, except this is not going to a third party, not AEM. Right here, this is the problem for the ad blockers. So ad blockers will say, oh, block anything going to Omniture, block anything going to Adobe DTM, block anything going to a domain website, a domain that's different than the current domain. So that's how, and that's how basically ad blockers work. They have these set of rules and dictionaries, and if you happen to be on there, then you're not going to get your ads or personalizations in this case to show up. So what have we done with Glittery? Glittery basically has we have 2 implementations of Glittery. First is using Context Hub. So because we're using Context Hub, steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be the same. But there's no 5th request or 6th request that goes out to a third party or back to AEM. Basically, this dash means it's the processing is happening right there within the client browser. The segments are resolved, and based on the Glittery technology that we showed you a little bit earlier, because the content is actually on the page, precompiled onto the page, the segments are resolved and different views are rendered. Okay, so that you're going to get some performance improvement here because of this, but the ultimate performance is going to be if you basically embed the JavaScript rules within the page and utilize business rules that evaluate your cookie data and your URL information and user behavior on that page to basically position the basic bits for that particular user. So once those persona bits are resolved, then you can toggle the views, and this is extremely fast. You can't see it you can't see it modify the page. I haven't seen it on any browser. So I think that's all we have for the descriptive part. I think it's we should get into the demo part now. So Mike, why don't you come up here?
Okay, so I'm going to present the demo. First we're going to demo the integration with Context Hub, and then we're going to remove Context Hub to make it completely depend on cookies. So let's see. So here is our UI innovation side. We talk about what we do, about us, and is this working, Inko? That we can apply for jobs here?
It's just a job descriptions.
Yes. So in the spotlight, we talk about what we do, what kind of implementations what we do for clients. So we're going to use this site for a demo. Okay. So we are going to do some. I think this is very. Everybody knows this, targeting. And before we do that, we want to first of all create some segments. So how do we create segments? Usually you come here to the home page and you go to the main navigation. Okay, then you go to personalization. And you see we talk about different terms like audiences here, they are actually talking about segments. So an audience refers to a segment. It's the same idea. So here you can create several segments. So today we're going to use glittery, but glittery persona Inko just talked about is equal to an AEM segment. So there's some special rules over there, but basically it's a very simple. It's a AEM segment. So we can create one, but I just created one for a reason, and I will talk about that later. I just created something called AEM NYC Meetup. So it's a plain old AEM segment. Okay, let's edit that. See, it's empty and doesn't resolve. Of course, it says data loaded in the content sub did not resolve to current segment. Of course, there's nothing here, so we're going to create something. But before that, we're going to show what's the difference between glittery segment or glittery persona and a normal regular AEM segment. So let's open the properties and go to personalization. And you can see that we set up the glittery bit. Okay, that's the only difference. So we can go back to this place, segments, I believe. We can actually go back to this place. Where is it? Audiences, yeah. These are all segments. We can assign up to 31 segments. We can assign either one with a glittery bit from 1 to 31, and we have 31 combinations. So for now, we're just doing that for this segment, AEM NYC Meetup, and we just saw that we assign a random number. We can call 5 or 6. We just do it as 5, even 1 or 31. It depends on you. So now let's create what we call a trait to make it. Let's put a trait here to fulfill this segment. On the left, you can see we have a lot of traits here. Be very careful. This is the comparison. There's a lot of comparisons here. What we want to use is compare a property to a value. Before that, I used property to property, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on, what was wrong. Because let's see, if you drag and drop here, and you open, this field is called second property name. It's like some you're going to automatically put a value there and think it should work, but no, this is a second property value. Just some glitches. So now today we're not going to put property to property mapping there. We're going to put a property to value comparison. Okay, so we were going to demo today is we are going to demo different personas here. Okay, they call it persona as well. Okay, it's not glittery persona. Glittery persona is an AEM segment, so this is AEM's persona. We're going to show you. Okay, CRXD, everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. So. I believe in home there's some personas pre-installed there if you have 6.3. So we go to this lady, and I put something there in their profile. CRXD is a little slow. I put a property over there is AEM Meetup in simple a Boolean value. It's true. So she is attending. Let's pretend she is attending. I think she's maybe watching the video right now. Okay, so let's go back to here. Let's compare the property. Actually, in order to see that value, it's better to choose her. Let's see what happens if we don't choose her. Okay, we choose somebody else, and we come here and we'll see a profile, and let's see if that is AEM Meetup. Does not automatically shows here. I can type, but that's not the easiest way. Easiest is put her here, and let's edit this. So what we want to compare is if this persona has a property name. Actually, this is called a store in AEM personalization in the Contents Hub terminology. It's called a store. So let's see if she is AEM Meetup. Okay, the operator we say equal. Data type usually don't trust auto detect, so let's put a boolean here, just to be on the safe side. Okay, value is of course true. All right, so this is the beauty of AEM Contents Hub. It will tell you right away. So data loaded in its Context Hub resolve. So this persona actually resolve this segment and this trait. Of course, there's only one trait in segment and resolves the segment as well. We can choose another one, like some other guy. Doesn't resolve. He's not attending our meetup. He does not get the pizzas. But if we come back, yay. So she has that special property. She's coming. Okay. So let's do. We got our segment ready. Okay. So we got our segment ready. Let's go to the target mode. Okay. Actually, we choose target first, and we create a new one called AEM Meetup activity. Also, you can call it campaign, whatever. There's several terminologies we just talked about. And let's start targeting. Okay. So from here, this is another interesting point. So you see, this is called audiences. Actually, here when you add, they say you're adding an experience, right? But in this selection, it's all segments again. What's going on? So actually, we will say our explanation is that I don't know if Adobe agrees with us, but our explanation is that you are actually creating experience right here. But the problem is this UI, this Adobe Contents Hub, the targeting mode UI has a limitation. So one experience you can only map to one. You can only map to one segment, or we can say you can only map to one audience. Okay, but that's not true at the back end. We can take a look at the back end. We just I added this before, AEM NYC Meetup. So let's come here. Where should I go? Actually, I should go to. Let me see. Content. Let's see if I can find it. So we just talked about it in all the campaigns and content campaigns, right? Let's go there. Content campaigns, UI campaign. Master is an area. This is what is that called? I forgot. Website. Oh, whatever. So this is called an area. This is called activity or campaign. This is a folder. Oh no.
Yeah, it's full of a channel.
No, this is not a channel.
We need the map.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. This is an experience, and let's see. This experience has. You can see CQ segments, and what we have here, it's actually a string array. So if you know CXDD, I know everybody knows, and it comes here, and you can map one experience to multiple segments. That's underneath, and we tested, it all works. The only problem is here, you cannot do that. If you go to the next page, you can see there's this one-to-one mapping. There's no such thing. So maybe they will fix that in the later things, but not now. That's one limitation we observe. Okay, let us know that you can find something that you can map multiple audience or multiple segments to one single experience. Okay, let's get back to our demo. So let's target something here. For example, let's target this in the spotlight. We want to let's welcome all the people here online or physical here to our AEM meetup. This is a target. Yeah. Let's target this one. Go to our AEM NYC meetup. And first of all, we set the engine. So usually people use Context Hub, but instead of doing that, we're going to show, we're going to use glittery today. There's no second trip, okay? Okay, so there's glittery. Okie dokie, come here. Now this is a glittery engine powered target, okay? And let's edit this. What should we put here in the spotlight? Let's say, what do we say? Okay. Yo, NYC. And we all love AEM, right? Some glitches sometimes, I don't know. All right, let's don't doubt that. Remove the question marks. Okay, so now see the default, it will say in the spotlight. But if you are in our meetup, there you go. We love AEM. Okay, so this is like easy. Mapping to an audience, to an experience. We call it AEM experience. Again, I cannot find a way to map multiple audiences. This should be like multiple lines over here. Lines, use the same experience. I don't know how to do that. Maybe we think it's a limitation. Okay, next. So this is where we can specify when we start this campaign and when we end this campaign. We're not going to do it right now. Also, you can set the priorities. Okay, this is the same old Adobe targeting. Okay, so this is the exciting part. Your target has been saved. Okay, let's go back to here. On the actual side, the problem is we cannot put WC and multi-close disabled, I guess. Okay. Because we want to show that target, the Contents Hub bar and banner on the top of the page. So let's remove that and see what happens. Okay, so this we loaded as the persona is anonymous. Okay. Let's see what's happening over there in the spotlight. There's nothing special. It's our bland old page that has nothing special over here. Okay, so let's using the Contents Hub to let's use the Contents Hub to move to the person, the lady who is joining our team, who is joining our meetup today. There we go. It's very fast. And we can see that there is no, oh, I didn't log it, I'm sorry. Let's do that, we can do that again. Actually, there's no trip to the back, there's no trip over, to the backend, to the public, to the AEM instance. Okay, so what's happening over here is we can see that actually there are two texts over here. They're all compiled on this HTML. Okay, this one's simply not showing up, but this one's showing up. Okay, so they have the same GPG. GPG means glittery persona, I believe, group. So these two belong to the same group. It has the same hash code. Okay, and this GP0 means that it was the default, but it's hidden right now. You see display now. It's done by the glittery engine. And this one, we have GP the same group, and you can see that it has GP5. This is the glittery bit of this segment. When we just came here, we were here, and we set that segment to 5. So it's showing up 5 here, and this persona resolves to that glittery bit. So this one is showing up, and because you came to our meetup, it's very cool. So this one, it was targeted as well. We're showing the flying cat over here. Okay, that's why I pre-created that segment. It should come with some music. Anyway, The previous one was the music and people staring at this cat for like days and days. But this one is pretty cool. Anyway, okay. So if you come back to some other persona, they're not coming to a meetup. They don't see this flying cat. Okay. So if we refresh the page, okay, and we'll show all the things, all the etc., all the AJAX cards, and see again what's happening underneath. Okay, so token.json, it's CSRF stuff, and we can say context hub, and it's getting all the segments actually, right? It's several trips of getting all the segments here, and their JavaScript calls. And this JavaScript, how to see if you're in the segment or not. You have to use these JavaScript calls, and of course you have some stores in your order history. You're getting that. You're getting all those things. This is pretty slow, but still our implementation is faster than the second trip. And you see, there's no second trip. You don't have to go back because all the variants are embedded on this HTML, and it's computed on the fly, and it's all embedded. That's cool. Okay, so that's the first integration point we are showing is you can integrate glittery with Context Hub, but there are still some stuff over here because you are using Context Hub, and Context Hub has to do all those AJAX, and it has to do this to resolve all the segments. So it's a little bit slow here, but it's much better. Okay, next, what we're going to do is we're going to completely remove Context Hub. Okay, what we're going to do is we use some cookie-based segment resolve. So there's even no first trip. So before we do that, I have to do a magic thing. I'm sorry, I didn't create a UI for that. Bear with me. What we have to do is you come here. That's CXD with Firefox. A little slow, but fine. Okay, so on the JCL content node of your site, there's something called segment engine. You see, we are using Context Hub right now. Okay, so we are using Context Hub to resolve all the segments. But actually, we can use something else that's provided by Glittery AEM component. It's a part of the integration. Let me see. It has to be exact glittery cookies. Yeah. So we call it glittery cookies. Just as simple to show why we have to call it this, because you come to here, libcq, personalization, components, target, and oh, not this one. I'm sorry. Components, glittery, components, structure, glittery library. We have two segment engines over there, and the first one you can use Context Hub. The other one is called glittery cookies. That's why we put it there. Okay. Your computer is always slow in demo mode, right? Oh, it's thinking. It doesn't want to show the code. Okay. Actually, I'm not going through this. It's too much. We're going to expose that maybe. Yeah, not today though. So let's do this. Instead of let's go back to that segment we just created. Instead of doing a comparison of a profile, we can remove this, and in the Glittery AEM integration, we introduce a new trait. It's called cookie. So let's put a cookie there. Okay. So this cookie trait is all about if there's some cookie, and what if some certain cookie exists or it equals to some certain value. So let's think about something. Let's say we all loves AEM. Okay. So if I leave the cookie value blank, it means that we're just checking. This trait is only checking if some certain cookie exists or not. Okay, so we check if AEM loves AEM cookie exists. Okay, so of course it doesn't resolve right now. Okay, so if we add that cookie, how do we add that cookie? Let's add that cookie. Our cookie. Oh, I already typed this in there. Okay, it's cheating. But anyway, resolves. Pretty good. Let's remove that. Oh, what did I do? Did I just remove everything? Uh-oh. Okay, I have to come back. I lost the session, but that's fine. Okay, so there's some session AEM stuff, but there's no that cookie. So I come here, and to show that, I'm going to go to WCM mode equals disabled because I don't want to see this content sub stuff. They should be completely gone. Okay, I made it to be available to the author mode for some integration reasons. Okay, so let's come here. Nothing. Okay, this page has nothing. But actually, if we hover over this, we should see the targeting is still there. The other variants are still there. See, 2 variants. Okay, it's just hidden. Display is none, and it's like yo-yo something. NYC we love AEM. It's hidden there. And let's see, what if we put a cookie over here? Here we remove. We should use glit. So $glit is yet another jQuery. We just used jQuery.no conflict, so we can use our special jQuery, not special, but we are using our particular version of jQuery that's compatible with glittery, and this is not conflicting with other jQueries if you use. So it's just, we wrap it in the name of $glit. So of course it does have cookie as well. Boom. Okay, the cookie is set, and let's see. Okay, so Yo-Yo NYC, we love AEM in the flying cat. Oh, if you see that blue thing, it's part of the. If you see this is part of the video. I'm sorry. This is actually part of the video because it used to be with the music. I don't know, AEM strip it off when it's transcoding, but it used to come with music. So before the music, there was a little start, and it's all blue, and then it started, and the flying cat keeps kicking in. But I'm telling you, this is fast. It's nothing to do with the JavaScript. Okay, so this thing, if we go to network, I believe, yeah, you see, clean. There's only token.json, nothing else. This is just for CSI, but nothing loaded. You lose some content sub functionality, like geo-based stuff, but if you're really not using that, use cookie-based. If your cookie is like created doing a business logic, this is a very fast resolution. So we can rely on all the cookies and we can show different stuff. Okay, I think that concludes my demo.
Yeah, that's it. So that's
Questions?
Yeah. Any questions? Thoughts? So that's the demo. I think what we wanted to show was that personalization is possible with AEM. That I think we've been talking so much about personalization with AEM, but never doing it. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. We've got to start actually delivering on those promises, and hopefully we showed that it's not that difficult. And it's not only that it's not that difficult. That you don't have to pay the steep cost of performance and having to deal with ad blockers and those type of those, and also the idea that the semantics, the confusing nomenclature, that's things that we try to clarify. If you want some more clarification, come back to the video and try to refer to that table. We're going to try to get this library packaged up and documented and delivered as soon as possible. But I think that it's time that we just basically start doing the personalization that that Adobe's been talking about for so long. Thank you.
Thanks for speaking, guys. It was awesome